Well, we know this is a very big political deal, the first post-Brexit trade deal. But what kind of an impact is it going to have for all of us? Well, the short answer is I can't really tell you for sure because we've only had a few details released by the government. Stuff like this. They've said that the impact for families in terms of cheaper bills is going to be £34 million a year. Sounds a lot, doesn't it? But then divide it by the number of households around the country and you get that figure instead, £1.22 per household, 0.004% of total spending. So not all that much, but really the key thing with these kind of deals is to look at the big picture. And here's the big picture historically when it comes to trade with Australia, going all the way back to the 19th century. And what you can see is the higher these lines are, the more we're trading with Australia. And there was the peak back at World War II. Even in the 1950s, about 1 in 8 of all of our exports and indeed imports were going to or coming from Australia. But then they've come down quite a lot. It wasn't just joining the EU, but they've come down to a very low level recently. And so the question with this deal is whether it moves those lines upwards. And the big thing in this deal, certainly when it comes to goods, is agriculture trade. Tariff-free, quota-free access for agriculture. That could be a really big deal, and I'll show you why. We'll look at the total amount of trade when it comes to beef and lamb and mutton coming from Australia. And the key thing here is there are quotas right now, so a kind of limit on how much can be imported of those things before those tariffs starts to kick in. And look at what's happening to those quotas. The government said it's going to go up gradually, but just look at those lines. I'm going to show you what happens the minute this trade deal is signed. They go up really sharply. There's a big gap, isn't there? A big jump in those quotas. And then after 10 years, they go up even higher, really high, to the extent that, you remember you saw that chart a moment ago about those kind of glory days of the 1950s Australia-UK trade. We're talking about similar levels in terms of those quotas after 10 years, similar levels, even higher when it comes to lamb and mutton. So that could be a really big deal for UK farmers and indeed Australian farmers. In exchange for that, might look like a concession, the UK has got something quite significant, though, when it comes to immigration. Brits under 35 are going to be able to travel in Australia, work in Australia for 3 years. Was 2 previously, fewer restrictions, and Australians are no longer going to be prioritised. That is a really big deal indeed, like I say, but so too are those agricultural concessions.